Hi, I'm Beth Miller-Rowe, the Bay Area's reverse mortgage specialist. Helping seniors 60 plus enjoy their retirement years is what I do best. A reverse mortgage is just like the mortgage you have right now. The only difference is how and when you pay it back. Call us today and mention KNBR for a free consultation. 925-969-0380. Again, 925-969-0380.
See, I thought we were going to go with Sweet Child of Mine, Guns N' Roses, where he goes, where do we go now?
Yeah.
What the hell? I mean, where do we go?
Well, it's too late. It's too late. Like, we went all in. So we went all in.
Okay.
It's okay. When I said in the summer it's fraught with terror, this is the terror that I was afraid of. Right?
Great. The terror I was speaking of.
Because think about it. Let's set the stage, right?
Yeah.
Because we make the trade, we go all in. We think it's Mac Jones. That's what we always heard. And now 6 weeks in, Mac Jones looks ready to play. He looks like he's going to be a 10-year player, and so we got that in the background. We have very quickly coaches decide whether someone's ready to play. It doesn't take once you know it, you see it very quickly. So I think it became very clear early. Trey, and that's what you thought, was not going to be ready to play right away. He hardly played in college, so it's gonna be some time. So Jimmy's going to stay, and I give Jimmy a tremendous amount of credit for dealing with this through March, April, May, June, July, and August really well, and into September really. Better than you can even ask somebody to kind of buck up, go play well, look for your next job, deal with it every day in the locker room. So it's been the undercurrent of everything that's happened in training camp and on is what's happening at quarterback. And the team, the locker room, you guys have heard me talk about the locker room, has its own heartbeat, its own ecosystem. And in 2019, we had the best locker room in the league. And why we went to the Super Bowl was a lot of reasons, but the main reason was the resiliency of that locker room and the leadership and the people that came out of it, the people spoke for it. They dealt with all the problems. They didn't need the coach to come in and deal with it. They dealt with all the hard things that came up, week in and week out. And so with that, and I sensed in the game on Sunday, just against the Colts, I always think about who has the more resilient locker room. That's how I'm watching the game, thinking about it, watching, and you can feel it. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I can watch and feel the resiliency. And I could feel our locker room is not great. And I'm worried, and it's fraught with terror because now 6 weeks in, Trey is still, he would be playing if he was ready to play because we already went, it's too late, we're in. Because he's not ready, and now Jimmy, about 2 weeks ago when he hurt his calf, I watched him, and I felt when he announced that he was going to be out a couple of weeks, we laughed about that last week, that things had changed. Like, he's still bucking up, and he's still, he says the right things, and he acts the right things, but the spirit of playing this out and how he feels about it just feels to be different. And especially as we're losing, and it just gets harder. And so now, here we are. Now we set the stage. Where do you go? Well, it's too late to turn back. So, but Trey can't play right now because then you get into the Justin Fields problem. Justin Fields' problem is now he's got to play it again. And let's say it goes worse. And now what do? You bench him again, and then he doesn't have the resiliency to stay on the field, and then Andy plays, and then we're at the end of the season. Do we even have a guy? Is it Mitch Trubisky again? Like, you get into these, things move quick. Mm-hmm. And as a coach, you can say, oh, don't worry about it. We'll keep developing the player. But remember, it's a 3-ring circus. It's 3 rings. And the main ring is what's in the locker room, the field, the guys, the coaches. But there's another ring, the public, the fans, and then there's another ring, the media. And if you think that the circus tent doesn't cover all 3 and that you got to deal with all 3, you're kidding yourself. And so as that evolves, that's why it's fraught with terror, because the Justin Fields situation is, let's say he plays again next week. It's worse. I just said that. What does Matt Nagy do? The only thing they can do now is fire Matt Nagy at the end of the year and then start off with a new coach and then hope that Justin Fields becomes a player. You can see how complicated it can get, how fast. And so that's what you don't want to have here, because we have a young Trey Lance hasn't played much, looks like I said, awesomely raw. So that's awesome. But you don't want to end the year without an upswing of, look, we have the answer. We went all in to find the answer, and we think we have it. You don't want that to well, no, we still think we have it, but the media is like, we don't have it. And the fans like, oh, we don't have it. That's a problem. And that's why exposing somebody who's not ready to play is the problem. But then Jimmy goes and plays, and you can see the locker room wants to support somebody. They're two good guys. They want to go. This is a Super Bowl roster, and they want that locker room to be cohesive. And this situation has made it very difficult to have a cohesive locker room, even though both guys have played their parts really well. They're not toxic. They're trying to do the best they can. And so that's why I say it's fraught with terror, because you just hope that something positive comes out of Chicago. And if there's something positive comes out of Chicago, we can eke out some more weeks through this thing without too much more damage to the season, to Jimmy, to Trey, because the more damage that Jimmy has, then we have to move Jimmy, and we can't. There's nothing being offered. Or Trey is damaged because he's young and hasn't played well, or that now the season's over because we're now 3-8. That's why it's fraught with terror. And so we're at a point now where we said last week was the Maginot Line. That's a place where we've got to make a stand last week, because we've got to stop the bleeding, and we didn't. In some ways, things got significantly worse because I think it exposed the locker room. I'm sorry to go on and on, but I wanted to set the stage.
It's good stuff
for where we are, why we're here, and where we go.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, no matter what we choose, we have got to play some great football and win a game. That's why, to me, the only way we start to build some money in the bank is to go and win a game and play and look like we know what we're doing. Because look what's happened after last week. Kyle, what kind of a coach is he? Does he know how to, things that we've never thought would come out in this season are starting to come out, and we don't want this stuff.
How do you explain that, Steve? How do you explain having such a good-looking first drive and then getting a field goal on the second drive that was precipitated by 3 passes when it seemed like, why are we passing here? We're getting bored with just running for 6 yards, 7 yards a pop, and then the misdirection. Even Darius Leonard said it. He goes, God, they were really giving us problems with that. I'm glad they didn't keep doing that. But then when they did that, the thing that made it even worse, Steve, was that when they went back to it, they scored in 3 plays. They went right down the field and scored.
That was an amazing drive.
It hit everybody in the face. Where was it? What happened to this? Why didn't you make them stop it before you decided to go in a different direction? Explain that to me, because I don't get it.
The only way you can explain it is how we have talked about it in the past. There's a lack of trust between coach and quarterback to just let it rip, right? You want those 3 passes. Well, let's call 16 more of those. If we can score in three passes, let's do that some more, of course. But there's a trust factor that if we do that, we're going to it worked for 3 passes here magically, but then we're going to get back into that bogged down, balls on the ground, strip sack, interception, ball, in a tight ball game in the rain. And so it's, again, I hate to say fraught with terror, but it's
how about fraught with 2 games under 500?
I'm with you. So I think as a coach, if I was coaching and I just had a drive like that, I would just call those plays again and again and again. And then let's say it blew up on me. Then the fans would say, hey, at least he called him, and I can look at this crowd and go, hey, bro, we called him, and look what happened, because if you don't, you're set yourself up for the whole week to one of the 3 rings of the circus to be talking about why you didn't, because it was so obvious in the first drive and that drive put together is let's do that. And but the only reason you would not keep doing that is that you're afraid to put that onus on the quarterback. And we have seen that now for 3 years. And I think that's why you talk about what was decided in March. It was fundamentally around that trust factor that keeps showing up in game, in drives, in and out of the huddle. And you can say, oh, he should trust them. well, okay, thanks for the tip, bro, but that doesn't really help because that doesn't really make a difference because if there's that's like yelling at some bad relationship that's kind of like struggling and you're someone's trying to give advice. Well, just get over it. Okay, we'll work on that.
It's funny. I mean, watching Jimmy, you can see all the reasons they invested all the picks in Lance, right? Because you see the flaws and you see the struggles and you're starting to see the patterns of the struggles. But an old football coach told me, Steve, a long time ago, that every rookie quarterback that comes into the NFL, that there's a race that goes on. And the race is, can that young quarterback prospect learn what to do, learn the protections, the footwork, everything, the intricacies of the offense before he's physically broken by the opposing defenses. And there are some quarterbacks, Rick Meyer, Vinny Testaverde, if you want to go way back, guys like Burt Jones, guys who come to mind who got broken, right? They were good. Their best year was their first year, and then everything went south because they lost confidence because they got sacked so much, they got hit so much. I'm now at a place where I'm not in favor of playing Trey Lance until he can go out there and operate a sustainable offense, not quarterback power out of an empty set on first down. Go get him, kid.
15 called runs out of the huddle, right?
Yeah, no, nothing like that. I don't want to see him out there until he can run the full arsenal of the full breadth of Kyle's offense. And I think and then that may not be this year. That may be next summer in camp. If that's the case, I'm fine with that. Fine with losing these games and seeing the...
Hi, I'm Beth Miller-Rowe, the Bay Area's reverse mortgage specialist. Helping seniors 60-plus enjoy their retirement years is what I do best. A reverse mortgage is just like the mortgage you have right now. The only difference is how and when you pay it back. Call us today and mention KNBR for a free consultation. 925-969-0380. Again, 925-969-0380.
Flaws of Garoppolo, because I don't want to see this thing get worse by breaking Trey Lance and having him, physically broken.
Sorry, Larry. Here's how it is. I understand that, and I agree, except I believe that the people you described as being broken would have been broken regardless sooner or later. Okay. In other words, the first year, that's what I mean. It's almost like, I don't know the analogy, fire hose, trying to drink from fire. I'm trying to think of a better one, but where you're just swimming trying to get air, right? And some guys can figure out a way to get it done, even though it looks not great. But you can feel it. You can sense it. And so my point being, I'm a fan of finding out now. Now I know you can't find out before they're even prepared. Like they have to get prepared, and so I agree with that. But at some point, young players have to have the guile and the wisdom and the street smarts and the aptitude and the ability to anticipate and to start to just that is something that is guttural. It's at the bottom. It's at the roots of who you are as a player, and it should be able to show itself, even in crappy situations, even in Tampa Bay, even in New York in the Jets, or even this is a great Super Bowl team. So my point being, of all the rookies that are trying to make it right now, the best place for the rookie to make it is right here. Mm-hmm. And so if he can't get on the field the whole first year, even under duress when we really need him to, then I'm fine. Let it play out, give him the space. Go see you next year, and hopefully it all goes well. But I don't know that we're going to know more than unless we get tested now. And so I'm with you. And Larry, I know what you're saying probably is I don't want to know right now. Like let's wait until we can really get a really good shot at this, because I don't want to. And I think it's probably smart when you've invested everything, you've gone all in with the picks and everything. Like what I say, 5 times in history teams have traded as much as the 49ers did to get to that spot. Right. When you win one of 5 times in history, you've given up that much, then you want to take the year, right? Like, let's be patient. Let's figure it out. And my only thing is, from living it, is at some level, I kind of want to see him under duress.
Okay.
I want to see him
Right.
in the struggle. I don't want to break. I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to challenge, but I want to know, and maybe again, that's just from personal experience. Cause I know that I either sunk or swam. And I think it's sink or swim, but I went crazy with the 10. Maybe because I was sunk and I didn't swim. I don't know. I'm not sure.
It's our weekly conversation with the man who has lived it in the world of professional football. Steve Young joining us on the Uma guest line on the Tolbert, Kruger, and Brooks show. My thing is, if Garoppolo's play stays at his current level, then won't it necessitate a change whether Trey Lance is ready or not? Like
the terror, because it really is. It's devolving,
right?
And that's what I mean. We have to. The bleeding has to stop, because as it devolves, you have no answers. A kid that's not ready, a guy that is devolving in front of our eyes, who's really capable, but yet is all the situations just cratering, and a team that's supposed to be in the Super Bowl, and they know it, and they can't even rally.
Right.
Like, that's what to me, I don't care what you choose this week, you've got to stop the bleeding. You've got to go win a game and change the nature of this conversation, because it's corrosive. The more we talk about it like this, if we're talking about this next week, it's corrosive. It doesn't just sit. It gets harder and more difficult and more painful.
And if they don't win next week, we're going to have this conversation, and it's going to get louder and louder and louder.
And what it does is it's a referendum on everybody.
Right. On
the trade, on Trey himself, on Jimmy, on the locker room, on Bosa, can he run? Well, I thought he was going to be it all spills everywhere. It sprays all over the place to make people say things that shouldn't be said. And that's why I've lived it, and I know how long the NFL season can be, and how much damage can be done. That is hard to retrieve, even if inside the locker room you think it's not true, or that I know the way better than the fans or the media. Or, in the end, there is power, and a corrosive power or a creative power in the other parts of the circus. The media and the fans have power, and it can be creative and corrosive. And you can say, "Oh, ignore the media, ignore nice." That does not work. And the more you understand it as under one tent, you start to realize how much can be gained and how much can be lost in 17 weeks now.
I'm going to tell you what terror is. Terror is sitting on your couch, watching the opposition drop back and chuck one deep. That's terror. Knowing that it's either going to be complete. I know
you are so bugged by that.
Or someone's going to tackle somebody, Steve. That was a joke. I mean, come on. That was a joke.
You're terrible.
I mean, come on.
And it was the epitome of the unfair fight that I keep talking about. Now, recognizing that they were guys that were probably not as skilled and not really prepared to do the great work, and I get that.
Yes.
But it's just an example of the unfair fight. In other words, we're in a jam. We're not sure what to do. Let's throw one up against one of our better receivers who's a big athletic guy and throw it behind them. Like, throw a crappy ball that flutters and stuff, and then I'll try to come back through the defender who doesn't know what's going on, and then I'm going to get a gain of 40. That's crap football. And that's why you're complaining, because it's hard. The NFL's hard, and all of a sudden that's just crap yards, crap that shouldn't be there, and it's cheap, and it shouldn't be part of the game, but it's getting more and more a part of the game, and a tactical one. Like, we're in a jam. It's 3rd and 20. Let's just throw one up, and then hey, 1st and goal at the 1. Like for a crap ball that shouldn't have been in play. So I'm with you. If they go to the college thing where 15 yards would help.
But I don't like that. I don't like that. I know a lot of people do, but I hate the fact that if you maul a guy 50 yards down the field, you only get 15 yards out of it.
You got one way or another. I mean, now.
No, I'm more concerned with the DBs. Like, hey, maybe turn your head around a little bit.
Skill level. You talk about the skill level.
Yeah.
Look. What I'm saying is the skill level is a factor, but it's a function of the unfair fight that I keep talking about, and so it's just another place where, because of it's an unfair fight with the defender, and especially out wide receivers and corners, that you've got to be the tip top corner to be able to play solid football down the field. And there's just not enough. There's not enough quarterbacks. There's not enough corners. And because of that, you're going to get, unless you change the rule, the complaint you have, Tom, is going to be a complaint you're going to have a lot more of.
I get it. And I do have to say that these guys are, street free agents, and it wasn't like they were, they've been here 2 or 3 years. It just drives me crazy when, I don't know, you tell me, because this is something you guys didn't do a lot back when you played the back shoulder throw or just chuck it up and come through the ball, which happens a lot more nowadays. But it as a DB, do guys ever turn their heads around? Do they just panic and get lost? I mean, because everyone sits there, Steve, on their couch and watches this and screams, "Turn your head, turn your head!" And I know it can't be that easy, and I know there's a reason they don't turn it. You don't want to lose contact with your man.
Right.
But when you see a guy look up in the sky, like he's not looking at a satellite, he's looking at a ball that's coming down. Maybe you should turn around and try to find it.
But the problem is, Tom, if you think about it, if you're out of position, turning your head only makes you more so.
Yep,
so
you lose separation.
Who cares at that point?
Well, that's my point. Is then but no fool on the field would be out of position and make it worse, right? Now you would say do it because you at least have a hope, which I understand. But the human nature is I'm not going to do things that are going to make it worse. The expertise is to be in a great position and turn and then actually defend.
Yes.
And then you get the benefit of the doubt and the officials give you the credit. But, I mean, think of the last touchdown the other night. I mean, it was like comical, right? It was like it felt like
it was the least competitive play I think I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. It was a high school touchdown. It was as if we were watching, Aragon and San Mateo. I mean, it was like, it was. You can go watch every Friday night. You can go watch those touchdowns all day long. And you don't expect. I was just at a Menlo School Aragon game, and something like that. But anyway, you get used, and so that's what's terrible about it.
Yep.
And that's where. I know that I blame the rules, and you can't because it's a skill too. But there is the unfair fight is creating that much more difficult. As much as the new rules are helping find more quarterbacks to play, it's exposing less corners that can play, and so we're going to get more. It'll be comical in the long run. People and look, it's fantasy, so who cares what the corner's not going? Who drafts a corner in fantasy?
Nobody.
Right? Most people don't play with corners.
It tells you the future of the game is, to me, fantasy tells you the future. And people don't care whether there's a good corner or not. They actually don't care whether that was defended well the other day. Because Pittman Jr. got the touchdown and he had fantasy guys and points and everyone's screaming and yelling. They're not focused on what the unfair fight. I know I sound like the goofball that cares about it when no one else does. But you do too, Tom. So
I do care about it. You're damn right I care about it.
We're in it together.
Great.
Excellent.
Now if I can just get you on the Halloween lights.
Steve Young with us on the Yuma guest line.
Will not happen.
Steve, okay, let's fast forward to Sunday because it's going to be Jimmy. And I got to ask, I guess it's a two-part question. In all of your years playing high school and playing BYU, playing in the pros, what is the most effective thing you've seen a coaching staff do to stem the overwhelming tide of turnovers? Because that is the number one thing. They have to do a better job at taking care of the football. But what would your game plan be with Jimmy to beat the Bears? Because as you said, I don't care how it has to go. They just got to get a W. How do you do that? Is it a run heavy game plan? Is it just run some more, keep the ball out of the air to minimize the risk? I mean, what is a game plan that will result in a victory come Sunday?
The thing that pops in my mind, Larry, is, and I've said this before, maybe too many times, when Mike Shanahan said to me, "I trust you. I'll call everything. You take care of me." And you know what? I don't know that he meant it. I don't know that it was true. I just know how it made me feel. And I can tell you that that team needs to feel that they're trusted, that that you can take care of things and go play with the abandon, but yet the confidence, because the turnovers a lot of times is this this fear that gets into the locker room of the we're screwing up, and we can't screw up again. And if I screw up again, I'm going to get cut, or I can't. It's like everything. It's like a confidence game. And you get a locker room that feels not confident and feels like, oh, here comes again. Oh my God. And you start playing that way. And then inevitably it's self-fulfilling, right? It comes. And so to me, going into Chicago, my speech would be, I trust you. You're not going to make a mistake. And if you do, we'll overcome it. And let's just lean in. Let's go. It's the let's go plan. And let's not have anybody feel like they're at risk, even though we know we all are. Knute Rockne was famous not because he changed reality, it's because he changed your perception. We perceive ourselves to be a better team and a much more confident team because Knute Rockne just made a speech. So let's go do it. Ronnie Lott was famous for that. Ronnie Lott, you've heard Ronnie Lott's speeches. Oh, we should have some. Someone's got to have taped one somewhere, I mean, it's just let's pray. And we're like, yes, let's go.
Steve, how do we, and I mean Kyle, get Jimmy to throw to someone not named Deebo Samuel?
It does feel like it's in Kyle's hands a little bit. I trust Kyle so much to be able to manage this that I feel like he can get it where he needs to get it. And look, Brandon Ayuk, you can tell, is in that mode of, I don't want to screw up. Oh, I don't want to screw up. I'm a screw up, and coach thinks I'm a screw up, and I got a ball. Oh, I dropped it. How did I drop it? I just had it. You can feel that feeling. So it's up to, I think coaches have to create a space where guys can either play their way out of it because it's a tough league. No one's going to baby you. No one's going to make Brandon, hey, look, you need to be more confident. Like, he needs to figure that out. But there has to be, I give Kyle that ability to go make sure that not everybody feels like they're on eggs, eggshells? Yeah, eggshells. And that there's some kind of, looming guillotine that's going to come and take people out. Yeah. And that's an important piece of the puzzle that I'm assuming is part of their nature, because I've seen that in 2019 or 2018 really start to get the threads of it. You don't change and do the things they did from 18 to 19 without this kind of thing I'm talking about. So I got to believe it's embedded in how they deal with it week to week. Yeah.